Welcome, dear viewers, to another insightful episode of Infinity Unveiled. Our journey today takes us through the intriguing labyrinth of human emotions and interactions. In this digital age where likes, shares, and comments often dictate our self-worth, we aim to uncover a potent antidote to this growing epidemic of validation-seeking behavior. Today, we dive deep into the golden formula, respect over sympathy. We will explore the profound power of respect, the intricate dynamics of group influence, the delicate balance between public judgment and personal gain, the hidden dangers of accepting sympathy, and the silent strength in standing alone. So sit back, open your minds and hearts, and let's embark on this enlightening journey together. Have you ever wondered why seeking respect matters more than seeking validation or sympathy? Let's delve into this thought-provoking question. Respect is a powerful force that shapes our identity, our actions, and our interactions with others. It's a cornerstone of our self-esteem, our self-worth, and our self-confidence. It's the invisible armor that shields us from the slings and arrows of life. Self-respect in particular is an essential aspect of our personal growth and well-being. It's like the roots of a tree, providing stability and nourishment, enabling us to weather life's storms with dignity and grace. It empowers us to uphold our values, maintain our integrity, and stay true to ourselves, even when faced with adversity or opposition. Contrarily, seeking validation or sympathy can be a slippery slope that undermines our self-respect. When we seek validation, we place our self-worth in the hands of others, allowing their opinions to define us. We become like chameleons, constantly changing our colors to blend in, to be accepted, to be liked. This constant craving for approval can lead to a loss of identity, a loss of self-respect. Similarly, seeking sympathy can also erode our self-respect. While it's natural to seek comfort and understanding during difficult times, constantly playing the victim can make us dependent on others' pity. This dependence can strip us of our self-reliance, our resilience, and ultimately, our self-respect. So, how do we cultivate self-respect? It starts with acknowledging our worth, embracing our individuality, and standing up for what we believe in. It involves setting healthy boundaries, saying no when necessary, and not compromising our values for temporary approval or sympathy. Remember, respect isn't something that can be bought or begged for. It's earned through our actions, our words, and our integrity. It's about being true to ourselves, regardless of what others may think or say. As we navigate through life, remember that respect is a cornerstone of our identity. Hold on to it, cherish it, and never let it go. Your self-respect is your power, your shield, your armor. It's the key to living a life of dignity, integrity, and authenticity. Consider how often we are swayed by the opinions of others, particularly within a group setting. It's human nature to want to fit in, to belong. The pressure to conform can sometimes lead us to accept things that we know, deep down, are wrong. Let's take a look at a common real-life scenario. Picture a classroom. An exam is in progress, and one student decides to cheat. The other students are aware but choose to remain silent. Why? They're influenced by group dynamics. The cheater might be a popular student, or perhaps they hold some influence over the others. Maybe the silent students fear retaliation, or perhaps they're hoping for a favor in return one day. Whatever the reason, they choose to support a wrong action, all for personal benefit. This is a perfect illustration of how group dynamics can shape our decisions, how the desire to impress or gain favor can sway our moral compass. It's a projection, a reflection of the group's collective opinion, rather than an individual's critical analysis. But here's the thing, conformity, while comfortable, is not always right. It is essential to remember that the majority's opinion is not always the correct one. A group's stance can often be influenced by personal biases, hidden motives, or a desire for personal gain. So, the next time you find yourself in a group, remember to critically analyze the situation rather than conforming blindly. Ask yourself, is this right? Is this fair? Am I acting out of integrity, or am I merely following the crowd? It's better to stand alone with your principles intact than to lose yourself in the crowd. Remember, true respect comes from standing up for what is right, even when it's not popular. It comes from having the courage to challenge the status quo, to question, to analyze, and to make your own decisions based on your values. So, the next time you find yourself in a group, remember to critically analyze the situation rather than conforming blindly. How often do we let public judgment sway our perception of right and wrong? It's a question worth pondering, isn't it? Let's consider an everyday scenario. A traffic police officer pulls someone over for running a red light. If the officer merely gives a warning, the person views the officer as lenient, perhaps even good. However, should the officer issue a fine, they're instantly seen as harsh, even bad. Now imagine if the system imposed fines 100 times higher for running red lights. The public would react negatively, wouldn't they? But isn't the simple solution not to break the rules in the first place? Yet it's fascinating how the lenses of personal gain can color our judgment. In most cases, people's opinions are shaped by the majority's views. They don't critically analyze the situation, but instead follow the herd, often to impress the leader or obtain some personal gain. It's a phenomenon that can be seen in various facets of life, from school and work to politics and social media. But here's the catch. These judgments are merely projections. They may not even speak directly to you, but they create an image based on hearsay or preconceived notions. It's like looking at a mirror distorted by others' perspectives. This distortion often leads us to support what benefits us personally, rather than what is right or wrong. We sometimes choose to hide the truth, remain silent, or even support a mistake for personal benefits. And that's where the danger lies. Rules, regulations, and public judgments are only relevant as long as they don't affect us negatively. Let that sink in. It's a sobering reality. But it's crucial to remember this when forming our own judgments. We often prioritize emotions and sympathy over justice and righteousness. We conform to the majority's opinions, sometimes even compromising our self-respect and self-esteem. But it's essential to remember, our approval of ourselves should always be paramount. We should never let others' judgments, swayed by personal gain and influenced by the majority, dictate our actions or our sense of self. So the next time you find yourself swayed by public judgment, ask yourself, is it the voice of justice, or is it the whisper of personal gain? Haven't you considered the potential dangers of accepting sympathy from others? It may seem counterintuitive, but there's a hidden peril in being on the receiving end of sympathy. Not all sympathy is altruistic. At times, it carries an unspoken price tag, and that price might be your self-esteem, self-respect, or even your autonomy. Consider this. When you accept sympathy, you unknowingly place yourself in a vulnerable position. You become indebted to the sympathy givers, and they may wield that debt as a tool of control or manipulation. There's a power dynamic at play, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's like dancing on a precarious tightrope where a single misstep can lead to a swift and brutal fall. Let's delve deeper. If you ever decide to go against the sympathizers, to challenge their views or actions, they may perceive it as a betrayal. And what follows? They might attempt to tarnish your character, to paint you as the villain in their narrative. They could harness their influence to turn others against you, creating a ripple effect of negativity that could severely impact your life. Moreover, sympathizers might use your dependence on their sympathy as a means to sway your decisions, to steer you towards paths that serve their interests. This could lead to a loss of individuality, a distortion of your identity, as you find yourself bending to the will of others in an attempt to maintain their sympathy. But here's the crux of the matter. Sympathy is not a measure of your worth, and you should never let it dictate your actions or compromise your values. It's essential to remain firm in your beliefs and to stand your ground, even when the world seems against you. Sympathy, like any form of external validation, is fleeting, and it should never overshadow the importance of self-respect. Therefore, it's vital to remain cautious when accepting sympathy and to always prioritize our self-respect. Don't allow yourself to be swayed by the whims of others. You are your own person with your own values, and these should be the guiding principles of your life. After all, the only approval you truly need is your own. What does it mean to stand alone, and why is it sometimes necessary? You might ponder. To stand alone isn't about physical solitude. It's about holding firm to your principles and values, even when they're not popular or convenient. It's about maintaining your integrity in the face of opposition and pressure. In the grand scheme of things, it's about being true to oneself. That, sometimes, can be a lonely path. There will be times when you may have to face ridicule, criticism, or even outright hostility for standing by your beliefs. You might be labeled as stubborn, unyielding, or even rebellious. But it's crucial to understand that these are the very trials that fortify your self-respect and dignity. You see, the world we live in is often swayed by emotions and sympathy. People tend to side with what benefits them personally, or what feels good, rather than what's right or wrong. This means that standing up for your principles can sometimes put you at odds with the majority. It's in these moments that your character is truly tested. And yes, it can be tough. There might be attempts to gaslight you, to make you question your reality. You might be subjected to pressures, humiliations, and judgments. But remember, these are not reflections of your worth, but rather reflections of the society that often prioritizes personal gain over integrity. The strength in standing alone lies in the understanding that you don't need the validation of the masses to affirm your worth. Your self-respect is not a bargaining chip to be traded for temporary acceptance or comfort. It's an inherent part of who you are, and it's not dependent on the shifting sands of public opinion. So remember, even if the whole world stands against you, don't compromise your self-respect. After all, the only approval that truly matters is your own.